Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Today at Wholesale Supplies Plus, we're making soap paper. As you can see, this is a super unique recipe. I went camping last weekend and took it with me, and it was a total game changer. So let's get making right now. Don't worry, I'll be there to walk you through it, and Gia will be your hands. The first thing you're going to need is a 2-pound tray of the basic clear melt and pour soap base. Next, you'll need a 2 fluid ounce bottle of lemon eucalyptus essential oil, 2 pieces of embed paper for soap. It'll be water soluble. Lastly, you'll need a 12-piece set of 0.25 ounce lip slide tins in silver. Other things you'll need include a scale, a soap cutter, some bowls, scissors, pipettes, clothespins, a paintbrush, and a cookie sheet. This is our basic clear melt and pour soap base. It's a 2-pound tray, which is the perfect size container for projects making 8 4-ounce bars of soap, or in this case, soap paper. The possibilities with our soap bases are endless, but we won't get into that just yet. The best, easiest way to get the soap out of the plastic is to loosen from the sides and then flip over it and use your thumbs to push it out. It's so satisfying to see the soap come out, and every time I see a 2-pound tray of soap, I think, wow, that's a lot of soap. But then I see our 23-pound soap tray, and I'm like, no, that's a lot of soap. Anyway, once it's out of the tray, you're going to use your soap cutter to cut it into tiny little pieces, measuring to 4 ounces. The smaller, the better, so that it can melt in the microwave easier. Make sure the soap is in a microwave-safe container and melt in 30-second increments until it's a honey consistency like this. If you do end up having to use more than one increment of 30, make sure to stir in between each increment, making sure that the soap is fully melted. Once the soap is fully melted, you're going to set it to the side for just a few seconds. Then you're going to grab your fragrance oil and measure out 0.2 ounces of essential oil. We chose to use lemon eucalyptus essential oil, but you could truly choose whatever you want. We chose lemon eucalyptus because it helps repel bugs while outdoors, and that's what we're using this for. I always thought that was an interesting concept or topic of discussion, is what fragrances repel bugs, because so many people hate the smell of citronella, and really there are so many more options to choose from. For example, peppermint, lavender, rosemary, basil, eucalyptus, lemongrass. I mean, the options are endless. So if you hate the smell of citronella and this is something you always struggle with, try making your own bug repellent or bug spray, or lots of people are using lotions these days as bug repellent, and obviously we're super big fans of making your own. So if you guys are interested in us doing more bug repellent recipes, let us know in the comments below. Okay, moving on. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take that 0.2 ounces of essential oil and you're going to pour it into that clear melted soap base and give it a really good stir. You're going to get your scale back out, place a little beaker or a smaller bowl. We used a beaker just because it has that little pouring spout and it's just easier. Always remember to tare your scale. We're going to pour 1 ounce of that soap mixture into the beaker. Pouring out of the bowl would have probably caused a mess, and that's kind of why we're transferring it to a beaker. It's easy for pouring. Of course, if from the beginning of the recipe you decided to use a heat-resistant beaker to mix your soap or melt it, that would also be fine. However, you are still going to need to measure out 1 ounce pours of this mixture, so that's why we chose to do it this way instead. Although we do realize that there are makers who just eyeball their recipes like they're cooking in the kitchen, and that is totally fine too. Next, we're going to get that cookie sheet out, and before this you should have printed whatever design you wanted, if any, onto your embed paper. We used normal printer ink. It does not affect the soaping process. It does not rub off on your hands. It is totally safe. And then to make it super easy to remove from the cookie sheet after, attach these clothespins to the top of the paper. Next, you're going to take that 1 ounce of melted soap that we measured out, and you're going to pour it across the paper. We chose to do it in a zigzag formation. That way it's more evenly distributed across the paper instead of all of it in one clump in the center of the paper or at the top of the paper. Grab your paintbrush and glide the melted soap across the paper until the entire sheet is covered in soap. Use the 2 clothespins to peel up that piece of paper.
Now, it's gonna be sticky, so do it slow, and keep in mind that the paper is technically wet, so you don't wanna rip it. Because the melted soap is probably dried a little bit, which is completely normal, you are gonna see that on the edges start to peel up. Just be extra careful, and you should be fine. Flip the piece of paper over onto the other side, and again, because it's sticky, it might lay in a weird way. Let's just make sure that the paper is completely flat on the cookie sheet. And then we're going to start the process all over again. Get your scale back out and your beaker and weigh out 1 ounce of melted soap again. There is a possibility that your soap dries up a little bit while you've been doing the other steps of the recipe. Again, this is completely normal. You can go ahead and pop it back in the microwave for 30-second increments until fully melted. Remember to stir in between each increment. And then again, pull your cookie sheet back over, grab your paintbrush, and pour that measured out 1 ounce of melted soap onto the back side of your embed paper. So as you've probably noticed, I know I said paintbrush and we're using a sponge brush. After testing this recipe multiple times, we found that a foam brush or sponge works best just because it soaks up that soap and is able to distribute it more evenly across the paper without leaving brush strokes or anything like that. But feel free to do whatever works best for you. And then again, just to reiterate, when spreading around the soap with your foam brush or paintbrush, make sure you're covering all areas of the paper, especially the printed part. There are lines to guide you so that you'll know where you're going to cut exactly later in the recipe, but this makes sure that you're getting the most out of your embed sheet, which we all want. And then yet again, you are going to super carefully peel that piece of embed paper up off the cookie sheet using the 2 clothespins, but this time, you're going to use those 2 clothespins to attach the piece of embed paper to a hanger. My best advice is to only attach 1 piece of embed paper per hanger if you're making more than 1 sheet of soap paper. Because what's going to happen if you put 2 on 1 hanger is that it's going to get stuck together and you're going to have to try to peel them apart, which ultimately is probably going to rip the paper, which would be a total nightmare. I feel like that would be a really cool series to do, like soap maker nightmares, because we all make mistakes and it happens, but that's what we're here for, is to make the mistakes for you so that you don't have to make them. But it does happen every once in a while, and that's okay. Once your piece of embed paper has completely dried, which we left ours out overnight, just hanging right side up in the studio. If you wanted to let it set out during the day, that's also totally fine. We just wanted to be 100% sure that the paper is completely dry. Once you've removed the piece of embed paper from the hanger, grab your scissors and carefully clean up the excess soap around the edges. If you're someone who downloaded and used the template that we have on our website attached to this recipe, if you look really closely, you'll see really thinly printed lines on the piece of paper, and you can use these lines to cut the paper into 1.7 inch by 0.7 inch pieces. Honestly, this is the most tedious, time-consuming part of the recipe, especially if you want the pieces of paper to be perfect. I feel like you could also use a paper cutter to get this done, or if you wanted to cut them in little shapes, that'd also be cool. But for the container that we chose to use, we are going to cut them into rectangles. Or you could make an entirely different template on your own. That's one super cool thing about soap making, is that it's entirely up to you. This is your process. This is your soap, your brand. You can do what you want with it. So don't forget, when you post your finished products on Instagram or any other platform, make sure to tag us so that we can share them too. Which, if you didn't know, every Monday on Instagram, we post a maker who has tagged us or used our products on our feed. We hope this inspires not only us, but other makers, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Makers helping makers. If you happen to stumble upon this video by accident, then let us introduce ourselves. We are Wholesale Supplies Plus, a collection of brands consisting of Crafter's Choice, Elements Bath & Body, Just Scent, and Rustic Essentials. Not only do we have a collection of recipes, soap, perfume, lotion, and many, many more, we also are a one-stop shop for affordable, professional quality soap making, skincare, and candle making supplies. So when you go to buy this kit, because it's just so amazing, be sure to check out our thousands of other kits and recipes offered on our website. Plus, we're always coming up with new things and launching new products, so make sure you follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, do all the things so you never miss a beat. Okay,
Now that we've cut enough soap paper to show you at least one finished product, set your embed paper and your scissors to the side, grab your tin. So again, we decided to use the 0.25 ounce lip slide tin set in silver. The lid slides right off, so to make it easier on yourself, just slide it off and set it to the side. Pick each piece of paper up one by one and set them in your hand, creating a stack. Line up the pieces of paper kind of like you would a deck of cards, side by side and all facing the same direction so that they're easier to fit into the container. Whether you want to cut them all at the same time or cut 15 and place it in the tin before cutting another 15, either way works, we'll leave it to you. The absolute best part about these tins is how versatile they are. In the past, we've used them for recipes like brow soap, lip gloss, lip balm, solid perfume. The world is your oyster. However, like most metals, if continuously wet, they will rust, so just be conscious of that. Now that we have all the soap paper neatly stacked in the tin, like so, grab the top to your lip tin and slide it on like this. And then, look at that! Our first finished product! You did it! That's it! It's that easy. I promise you're gonna love it. Comment below if there's any other recipes you'd like to see us make, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you later!